So last week at the jazz gig, I'm coming home and I take my amplifier out of the minivan and I'm going into my studio. So I grab the amplifier by the handle, and as I'm taking the amplifier out of the back of the minivan, I slip in the snow and I accidentally put my hand out to brace against the amplifier, and I accidentally pushed my hand, well, my fingers, not that hard, but I pushed it through the mesh and through the speaker cone. That's a pretty good hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair that. I'm going to fix that. Now, I'm not a technician, but it's repairable. So if you want to stick around, I'm going to get to work here. Okay, so the first thing I should probably do is just give you a listen to it, how it sounds right now. So I'm going to plug my Fender Telecaster into there. Here's a little sample of how it sounds with the high notes. So there's no question that that speaker cone is done for. It's seen better days. I'm going to hang on to it though because it's an original speaker. So far this amplifier is completely original. So I'm going to unplug that and get to work. Okay, I've got that unplugged, so I'm going to take a screwdriver and remove the nameplate first. Right here. Alright, here I go. I've got a small Tupperware container. I'm just going to throw the screws right in there. Last screw. And that nameplate will just come off and put that aside for later. I know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to have to later on mark where those holes are distinctively, because I'm going to want to put that back on in the exact same spot with the exact same holes. Okay, for now the rest of the work is going to be done at the back of the amplifier, so I'm just going to move some stuff out of the way and turn it around. Okay, right off the bat I'm going to have to remove this section here, and I can see that there's 4 screws involved. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to get to taking those apart right now. With screw number 1, with washer number 1. Get the last screw. And once that comes out with the washer, that should just pop off fairly easy. Now be careful with that, that's brittle. I'll just put that here for a minute. Okay. This is the speaker we're working on right here. So what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to unplug from the main source here, so that we have that unplugged and this speaker unplugged as well. There's the numbers on the inside of the speaker, if you're interested. What's interesting here is that you're going to have to remember, if you need to take pictures, do so, but remember how these go back together. That way you're not going to have a problem when it's time to put it back together. Okay, so let's unplug both of those speakers. I'm going to start by unplugging this one here first. White on the bottom for me. It's a bit tight. And black on top. Okay, tuck that away. Now on mine, I know that one of them is, this side is marked on the red, and this side has no marking. So I'm going to, when I put it back together, I'm going to return that back to the same position. Out that comes, and certainly unplug the, can you see that? Where it says extra speaker, right there, just unplug that. Actually it says just speaker. Okay, now we have that unplugged. I'm just going to put that over there. There's 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 on each speaker. So I'm going to start by taking out the bad speaker first. And here we go. And here's the last screw holding the speaker in. That speaker is going to drop, so I'm just going to do this one by finger so I don't drop it onto the reverb tank. Okay. So as you can see, that's a fairly good rip. Also what I did, these are the original cones, so they started to crack around the edges, and I was starting to get that distortion sound again. So what I did was I took some bathtub and tile, and I suggest that if you're going to do it, depending on the color of the face that you have, I used the white one, but and you probably didn't notice when I took off the cover that you can actually see it through. So if you have a black screen, use a black tub and tile. But the interesting thing about the tub and tile is it's a little bit of a rubbery thing, so it gives you that that cone bounce that you need, just enough. That's if you have cracking around the edges. Good little trick I learned. But that's the original Oxford speaker that came with it, and I'm going to put that aside and probably have that. Well, not probably. I would like to have that reconed. Okay, time to take out this guy here. And once again, last screw. I'm just going to open it up here a little bit, and then see that's going to happen. So I want to grab onto that, and I'll just remove that once again with my fingertips because I don't want it to drop on the reverb can, because then I would have to replace the reverb can. Okay. Once again, that's an original speaker, and as you can see, I want to get the tub and tile. They're very thin, they're paper cones, so you want to be careful with those. I'm going to actually probably put that one back in because it's still a good sounding speaker, and anyways, I'll get to that later. I'm going to just set it aside on the old shelving unit. Okay, good. Now that we have that out, I don't know if you can see this properly. I'm going to zoom out a bit here. Now there's going to be four, the front screen here is screwed in. There's 4 screws. There's one at the bottom here, one about halfway up, one over here at the bottom, and one about halfway up here. So I'm going to remove those so I can take the front screen off. I'll start in the bottom here. Okay, that comes out of there nice. It comes with a washer, so you want to make sure that you understand which way that washer goes all the time. Once again, the last screw to take off the front screen. I'm just going to get that done. I guess I could have used my electric drill, but the exercise is always good for your hands. So if you're looking for hand exercises, certainly the electric drill is going to make it easier, but with that said, the screwing part will give your hands some exercise. Just a second, there it is, with the washer and stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that around now here quickly. Okay, it's time to take that screen out. Of course, I don't recommend you putting your hands in there, but and that comes out nice and easily. You can actually see how peekaboo. Okay, yeah, how that is. I'm just going to set that down here again, and now that's the inside of my amp, and it's, you know, as you can see, it's fairly dirty right across the top here. I'm the original owner, and you can see that it, the cabinet, covering on the cabinet's coming apart a little bit, but you know, that's a good lot of dirt on there. Here's my settings that I use. That was hard work. Okay, I'm just going to put that on the floor and get that out of the way for a minute here. You want to be careful because it's not braced like it was before. So, all right, now with that gone, I'm just going to bring this back here. Move these out of the way a little bit here. I had that jar, but I wound up not using it. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to flip this over here. So there you go. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure, because I don't know what the front of this cover looks like. I'm assuming it's black, but I'm going to mark the back of that here now so you can see it with the pencil. And I just marked that on the back side, so when I put it back together, I know, oh, I should put top as well, so I know that this is the top. Preparation, good is always better. Okay, there's all these staples that are going to have to come out. There's quite a bit of it. Probably just for fun, I'm just going to count them, see how many there actually are. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put that many back in there. Alright. Alright, I had to search, but I finally found my staple puller. I forgot to tell you the tools that you're going to need, but you're going to need one of those. And I'm going to pull some of these out here. One. Alright, I'm going to get back to it, and when I get this all off, I'll be back. Okay, here I'm on the home stretch. I've got 3 left. Sometimes they come up pretty good. Other times you need that little extra help with the pliers. So where I thought it was a one-handed job, it became a two-handed job. And the last one, there. Okay, that's done. I'm just going to count them, see how many there were. 81, 82, 83, 84. Interesting number. Okay, I'm just going to move some of this out of the way again here. I may need those again later. One final look at it. And the big honking hole. And ideally, they've used a little bit of, maybe not, but you can see the cutting job, maybe, can you? How they cut that at the back. And I'm just going to peel that away there. Appears to be a bit of glue there. Peel it away on this side. Should have some background music while I'm doing this, I guess. It's stuck on the corner there. Yeah, so I've seen they put 2 staples in there, but I didn't realize. Well, I'll find out more as I go through. Okay, some of this has been, certainly a little touch of glue didn't hurt. So probably what he did first was he glued it in the right position. Oh, there is one staple right there. Okay, I've basically got that all apart. So I'm going to create something that I'm going to like. So that's what it looks like when it comes off the front. Interesting. So I'm just going to lay that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm just going to, one day, well, very soon, I'm going to pin that just up on the wall as a reminder of, or maybe I'll build a frame for it and just frame it. However, I'm just going to put that aside over here. Okay, so that's the inside of your board. So I'm just going to, that's a bit dusty, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit here. I'm going to get a wet rag and stuff like that. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just going to wipe it up with a wet rag. Get some of that dust out of there. That's been there for, I guess at this stage, 23 years. Get it up, and over 23 years it collects a lot of dust. So if you're allergic to dust, probably a good idea to give it a little dust. Okay, I'm pretty confident. Okay, I'm fairly confident that I've gotten all that dust. So I'm just going to stand that back there for a minute. And now I'm going to give this table a good wiping. That has collected some dust. I don't need those staples anymore. I'm not going to recycle them or reuse them. And there they go. I want to make sure my table is absolutely clean, because what I'm going to do next is refinish the cover. Or I guess you could say the face of it, the facade. Alright, that should be fairly dry. And here's the surprise. Right there. So what I have to do now is I have to take this, lay it in there and measure it. That should be fairly simple, I think, right? I know from the other one. I can actually even take, if I want to take this one and use it as a template. Because it's material, I'm going to need a real good pair of scissors. Better get one of those. Okay, I've got the material laid down here. Found a good spot of the material. And now I'm just going to take my Sharpie, like this, and I'm just going to trace around that. Make sure that's nice and give a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact, but give a little bit of room around there. Maybe a 1/4 inch around there. If you've ever done any sewing, then you you're going to have a little bit of play. As I go down the edge here, and along the side, I gotta recommend that I can start to smell the Sharpie here, and I don't recommend that you get into the Sharpie smell odor until, you know, after sometime in the afternoon. Move that up there. Make sure it's still nice and even. It's getting caught on my, and I don't want that to happen, so. And on the outside here. And try and stay on a line. This is a great looking material. Okay, take that off, make sure there's no snags in it, put that aside. And as you can see, that's fairly dusty. I tried to scotch tape it down, but because normally you would pin it down, right? I don't know if that worked. Okay. Where'd my scissors go? Got a nice blue handled pair of scissors. Okay. I guess the ideal thing would be to then start cutting. I'm going to leave the line. The first thing I want to do is cut that out and down along the bottom. I suggest that in your process of doing this, that you leave yourself a little bit of play just in case you have to stretch it. That you don't cut it so exact that it can only fit at that thing. Because after years, you got to imagine, maybe even after weeks, that this might sag a little bit, you know. After you've stapled it in, it may start to... So you want to give yourself a little bit of play. Okay. Alright, that's kind of good. Looks good. I'm going to take that now. Now remember, that's the front. So I want to flip that over to the... Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to put that back. So I know that this material has a front and a back. So I know that that's the front. So I'm going to flip that around to the back. And take this and flip that around. Okay, I've decided actually not to cut it, but now you're going to need a good staple gun. And I don't mean like the other, you know, cheesy ka-ching, ka-ching. You're going to need a carpenter staple gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the, pull it just a little bit taut, whatever you want to call it. Fold over that top. Make sure that top is there good. And if you've wrapped Christmas presents in the past, then you'll know I'm going to fold that corner in and then pull this over here just a bit. Now to get that corner nice and good, because once that staple goes in, she's not coming out. She's there for the next, well, I guess until I get bored of looking at this color. And there's one. Now I'm just going to tack the corners in for now, because what I have to do is I have to go along and make sure that it's just, because I got a line in here. I don't know if you can see the line, but I've got a line in here that I want to keep it straight. So I can get down to the corner here. And once again, get that just a little bit tight. I don't want to release the pressure off the board, because when I go to the other side, I'm going to need that same pressure. And once again, just like wrapping a present, tuck it in there to the corner, and then bring that up. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to put one there. That looks good. Then I'm going to go down here a little bit. Now I can, I know roughly where I need to be for that to be a little bit tight. And go down to the end here. Follow my line all the way down. Make sure I'm keeping her nice and straight because I want the face to look nice and straight after. Once again, tuck that in and pull this over to make a nice, good looking corner. That goes in there, and once again, down to this side, down to the end. Tuck it in, just like you were wrapping a gift for somebody. And probably as a matter of fact here, this is a gift for me. When I was picking out the product, I told the sales clerk at the fabric store that I wanted something, either a purple or a blue, that all the boys would look at and go, I wish I had that. That they wanted that. And I'm thinking maybe you purists out there that are watching me either deface or reface my amp are thinking, bad idea. But, okay, now I have a straight line that goes along here. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to keep going. Remember, I took 84 staples out of the last one, so I'm just going to keep going and snug that up real good so that when I flip it over this way, yeah, see, it's got that nice sheen to it. Can you see? Yeah, that looks nice, I think. And when the light hits it a certain way, that's going to look real cool. Just tweaking out the edges here. And I can see, as I've gone along and done some stapling, that it looks pretty good. There's a few parts that I want to trim out where the speaker will go, so I don't catch the speaker. You know, and those parts will go there. A little bit more here. And it's a fairly good material. Alright, there. And it looks like that. You know, certainly if you're tired of the same look that everybody else has, it might be a good idea to change the face of your amp. I'm just going to put this up aside here, right there, and I'm going to bring back the amp. Okay, there it is. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a minute to clean up the amp before I put it back. It's got you know, 23 years of dirt and grime, so let me just polish that up, and I'll be right back. Alright, I've got that cleaned up. I took off all the knobs to make sure it was cleaned up. I wanted to do a good job. And now I'm going to turn it around and put the screen back on. Now, good thing I marked it. And I marked in a black felt marker, just a little dot, where I have to put that screw. So, hey, it fits nice and snug just like the other one. Who would have thought? And I'm going to start with the, I'll start with the top one here. Now, ideally, that should just go right back into the same screw hole that it came out of before. Because I really didn't touch anything, I just put the face on. Last screw in, now we need the speakers back. So I'm going to, once again, I'm going to actually dust that off a little bit before I put it back in. Alright, let's put the original Oxford speaker back in there. Okay, I've got them in finger tight now, so I'm just going to give them a little snug up with the old screwdriver. Third one, here's the last one. Okay, good. Now, I've got a special surprise. Years ago, I bought these, and the receipt's still on them. So if you, that's per speaker, so yeah. I bought these when I, oh listen. right? It's got that new speaker smell right out of the box. She's a little bit heavier, but I'm gonna pop her in there. Put this away. I'll give that to the kids later. Ooh. In the spirit of buying it, when I was reconing the old ones, remember how those looked? I bought 2 of these. So if this one doesn't work out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap it out. So I'm going to try the Celestions, and these are the tube ones, so I'm curious. Okay, I'm going to place that in there. All right, right off the bat, I noticed that there's when I plug it in, I'm going to just have to deal with that. Can you see that? I'll zoom in there closer, but what I want to do now is just tighten up these screws here. I've got them all finger tight, so I'm just going to snug them in there. Last one. Okay, before on the other one, on the old Oxford, this one was up here, but because of the way the cone is designed, had I turned it this way, these would have been right up here, and then that would have not been long enough. So I had to shorten my thing here. Okay, I'm going to plug that in. Okay, you remember there's white on the bottom, which is positive in this case, and that'll go on nice and neatly there, and black, which will be the negative on this side here. Nice and tight on there. Good. Good. Okay. Now you remember, I've got mine where it's right there, red on one side and white on the other. So I had red on this side here, and of course the other one on the bottom. And then, of course, now I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see where I'm going to plug this 1/4 inch into, which will now be into my speaker cabinet. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Alright, now what I'm going to do is replace the back part. This part here. Let me put the screws back in there. I'll be right back. And the last screw on the back. Watch me go fast. Watch me go fast, 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 fast. Slow, 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 slow down. Just like I was going fast. Okay, now I got to spin that around. Alright, I guess you Fender purists will think that I'm gone too far this time. However, now I got to put the nameplate back on. And remember, I marked it. I put some black markers there. So it should kind of sit right about there. Okay, last screw. And just make sure they're all snug. Wouldn't want it to fall off in transit. I guess that's what it looks like. So now I got to plug it in and see what it sounds like. See if I've made a difference. Alright, I've got it plugged in, so let's take a listen to it. You remember what it sounded like in the beginning? Alright, well let's have a good old listen. Now the low notes, it was crapping out there, remember? I guess I should have tuned that, eh? I don't know if you can see the white rim around there still, but there's the new Celestion. Woohoo! And there's the old Oxford. I'm going to have to play with it a little bit to really get comfortable with that sound. That's a whole new speaker now. What do you think? How does it look? Thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did. I learned how to redo the amp and also replace the speaker. Alright, happy guitar playing.